Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We're reading today from Canto 5, Chapter 3, and it's entitled Rishabhadeva's Appearance in the Womb of Meru Devi, the wife of King Nabi. And it says, so it's Chapter 5, uh, Canto 5, Chapter 3. um, Rishabhadeva's appearance in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of King Nabi. In this chapter, the spotless character of King Nabi, the oldest son of Agnidra, is described. Wanting to have sons, Maharaj Nabi underwent severe austerities and penances. He performed many sacrifices along with his wife and worshipped Lord Vishnu, master of all sacrifices. Being very kind to his devotees, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was very pleased with the austerities of Maharaj Nabi. He personally appeared before the king in his four-handed feature, and the priests who were performing the sacrifices began to offer their prayers unto him. They prayed for a son like the Lord, and Lord Vishnu agreed to take birth in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of King Nabi, and incarnate as King Rishabhadeva. Text number 1. Shri Sukha Uvacha Nabir Apatya Kamo Prajaya Merudevya Bhagavan Tam Yajna Purusham Avahitat Maya Jayate. Sukadeva Goswami continued to speak. Maharaj Nabi, the son of Agnidra, wished to have sons, and therefore he attentively began to offer prayers and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the master and enjoyer of all sacrifices. Maharaj Nabi's wife, Meru Devi, who had not given birth to any children at that time, also worshipped Lord Vishnu along with her husband. Text 2. In the performance of a sacrifice, there are 7 transcendental means to obtain the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 1. By sacrificing valuable things or eatables. 2. By acting in terms of place. 3. By acting in terms of time. 4. By offering hymns. 5. By going through the priests. 6. By offering gifts to the priests. And 7. By observing the regulative principles. However, one cannot always obtain the Supreme Lord through this paraphernalia. Nonetheless, the Lord is affectionate to his devotee. Therefore, when Maharaj Nabi, who was a devotee, worshipped and offered prayers to the Lord with great faith and devotion, and with a pure, uncontaminated mind, superficially performing some yajna in the line of Pravargya, the kind Supreme Personality of Godhead, due to his affection for his devotees, appeared before King Nabi in his unconquerable and captivating form with 4 hands, in this way to fulfill the desire of his devotee. The Supreme Personality of Godhead manifested himself in his beautiful body before his devotee. This body pleases the mind and eyes of the devotees. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyas jasmit tattvata tatumam tattvato gyatva vishiteta anantaram. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. This is a verse from Bhagavad Gita 1855. One can understand and see the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the process of devotional service and not in any other way. Although Maharaja Nabi performed prescribed duties and sacrifices, it should still be considered that the Lord appeared before him not due to his sacrifices, but because of his devotional service. It was for this reason that the Lord agreed to appear before him in his beautiful bodily features. As stated in Brahma Samhita 5.30, the Supreme Lord in his original nature is very beautiful. Vedam Kvanantam Aravinda Dalayataksam Varhav Vataksham Varhav Atamsam Asitam Buddha Sundarangam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, although blackish, is very, very beautiful. Text 3. Lord Vishnu appeared before King Nabi with 4 arms. He was very bright, and he appeared to be the best of all personalities. Around the lower portion of his body, he wore a yellow silken garment. On his chest was the mark of Srivatsa, which always displays beauty. He carried a conch shell, lotus flower, disc, and club. And he wore a garland of forest flowers and a Kostuba gem. He was beautifully decorated with a helmet, earrings, bangles, belt, pearl necklace, armlets, ankle belts, and other ornaments bedecked with radiant jewels. Wow, it was very opulent. Seeing the Lord present before them, King Nabi and his priests and associates felt just like poor people who have suddenly attained great riches. That's very nice. They received the Lord and respectfully bent their heads and offered him things in worship. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is distinctly mentioned here that the Supreme Personality of Godhead did not appear as an ordinary human being. He appeared before King Nabi and his associates as the best of all personalities, Purushottama. As stated in Vedas, Nityo Nityanam Chitanas Chitananam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is also a living being, but he is the supreme living being. In Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Lord Krishna himself says, Mata Parataram Nanya Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. No one is more attractive or more authoritative than Lord Krishna. That is one of the differences between God and an ordinary living being. According to this description of the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu, the Lord can easily be distinguished from all other living beings. Consequently, Maharaj Nabi and his priests and associates all offered the Lord obeisances and began to worship him with various things. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 6.22, Yam labdva chaparam labam manyate nadikam tata. That is, upon gaining this, one thinks that there is no greater gain. When one realizes God and sees the Lord face to face, one certainly thinks that he has gained the best of all things. Rasopi asya param dristva nivartate. When one experiences a higher taste, his consciousness is fixed. After seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one ceases to be attracted by anything material. One then remains steady in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Text 4 and 5. The priests began to offer prayers to the Lord, saying, "Oh, must worship one. We are simply your servants. Although you are full in yourself, please, out of your causeless mercy, accept a little service from us, your eternal servants. We are not actually aware of your transcendental form, but we can simply offer our respectful obeisances again and again, as instructed by the Vedic literatures and authorized acharyas. Materialistic living entities are very much attracted to the modes of material nature, and therefore they are never perfect. But you are above the jurisdiction of all material conceptions. Your name, form, and qualities are all transcendental and beyond the conception of experimental knowledge. That's very important. Beyond the conception of experimental knowledge. Indeed, who can conceive of you? In the material world, we can perceive only material names and qualities. We have no other power than to offer our respectful obeisances and prayers unto you, the transcendental person. The chanting of your auspicious transcendental qualities will wipe out the sins of all mankind. That is the most auspicious activity for us, and we can thus partially understand your supernatural position. Yeah, you can never understand everything about Krishna because he is beyond the material world. He has transcendental qualities that are unending. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to do with material perception. Even the impersonalist Sankaracharya says, Narayana Parovyaktat. Narayana, the personality of Godhead, is beyond the material conception. We cannot concoct the form and attributes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We must simply accept the description given in Vedic literatures about the Lord's form and activities. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Chintamani Prakara Sad Masu Kalpa Vriksha, and so forth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desires in abodes built with spiritual gems and surrounded by millions of purpose trees. He is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. We can have some conception of the absolute truth, his form, and his attributes simply by reading the descriptions given in Vedic literatures and authoritative statements given by exalted personalities like Brahma, Narada, Sukadeva Goswami, and others. Sri Rupa Goswami says, Atak Shri Krishna Nama Di Na Bhavet Kayam Indriyai. We cannot conceive the name, form, and qualities of Sri Krishna through our material senses. Because of this, other names for the Lord are Ahoksaja and Aprakrita, which indicate that he is beyond any material senses. Out of his causeless mercy upon his devotees, the Lord appeared before Maharaj Nabi. Similarly, when we are engaged in the Lord's devotional service, the Lord reveals himself to us. Sevan Mukehi Jivado Swayam Evasparat Yada. This is the only way to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati Yavan Yaschasmi Tattvata. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service. There is no other way. We have to hear from the authorities and from the Shastras and consider the Supreme Lord in terms of their statements. We cannot imagine or concoct forms and attributes of the Lord. Text 6. O Supreme Lord, you are full in every respect. You are certainly very satisfied when your devotees offer you prayers with faltering voices, and in ecstasy bring you tulsi leaves, water, twigs bearing new leaves, and newly grown grass. This surely makes you satisfied. One purport: one does not need great wealth, education, or opulence to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one is fully absorbed in love and ecstasy, he need offer only a flower and a little water. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prayachati. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. Bhagavad Gita 9:26. The Supreme Lord can be pleased only by devotional service. Therefore, it is said here that the Lord is surely satisfied by devotion and nothing else. Quoting from the Gautamiya Tantra, the Harivilas states, Tulasi dala matrena jalasya chulukenava vikrinite swam atmanam bhaktebhyo bhakta vatsala. Sri Krishna, who is very affectionate toward his devotees, sells himself to a devotee who offers merely tulsi leaf and a palm full of water. The Supreme Lord is causelessly merciful upon his devotee, so much so that even the poorest of men can offer him a little water and a flower in devotion. and thus please him. This is due to his affectionate dealings with his devotees. Text number 7. We have engaged in your worship with many things and have offered sacrifices unto you. But we think that there is no need for so many arrangements to please your lordship. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Rupa Goswami says that if one is offered very varied foods but has no appetite, the offering has no value. Oh, interesting. In a big sacrificial ceremony, there may be many things accumulated to satisfy the Supreme Personality Godhead. But if there is no devotion, oh, that's the main thing. If there's no devotion, attachment, or love for the Lord, the arrangement is useless. The Lord is complete in himself, and he does not need anything from us. However, if we offer him a little water, a flower, and a tulsi leaf, he will accept them. Bhakti, or devotional service, is the main way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not a question of arranging huge sacrifices. The priests were regretful, thinking that they were not on the path of devotional service and that their sacrifice was not pleasing to the Lord. Text 8. All of life's goals and opulences are directly, self-sufficiently, unceasingly, and unlimitedly increasing in you at every moment. Indeed, you are unlimited enjoyment and blissful existence itself. As far as we are concerned, O Lord, we are always after material enjoyment. You do not need all these sacrificial arrangements, but they are meant for us so that we may be benedicted by your lordship. All these sacrifices are performed for their fruitive results, and they are not actually needed by you. Yeah, all you have to do is chant Hare Krishna purely, and the Lord is satisfied. Purport: being self-sufficient, the Supreme Lord does not need huge sacrifices. Fruitive activity for a more opulent life is for those who desire such material opulence for their interest, in other words, for their self-interest. That's not devotion. Yajnata karmano nyatra lokalyam karma bandhana. If we do not satisfy the Supreme Lord, we engage in Maya's activities. We may construct a gorgeous temple and spend thousands of dollars, but such a temple is not required by the Lord. The Lord has many millions of temples for his residence, and he does not need our attempt. He does not require the opulent activity at all. Such engagement is meant for our benefit. If we engage our money in constructing a gorgeous temple, we are freed from the reactions of our endeavors. This is for our benefit. In addition, if we attempt to do something nice for the Supreme Lord, he is pleased with us and gives us his benediction. In conclusion, the gorgeous arrangements are not for the Lord's sake, but for our own. If we somehow or other receive blessings and benedictions from the Lord, our consciousness can be purified and we can become eligible to return home back to Godhead. Text number 9. O Lord of Lords, we are completely ignorant of the execution of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, the process of liberation, because we do not actually know the goal of life. You have appeared personally before us like a person soliciting worship, but actually you are present here just so we can see you. You have come out of your abundant and causeless mercy in order to serve our purpose, our interest, and give us the benefit of your personal glory called apavarga, liberation. You have come, although you are not properly worshipped by us due to our ignorance. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Vishnu was personally present at the sacrificial arena, but this does not mean that he had any interest in his own personal benefit. Similarly, the Archa Vigraha, the deity in the temple, is present for the same purpose. Out of his causeless mercy, the Supreme Personality of Godhead presents himself before us so that we can see him. Since we have no transcendental vision, we cannot see the spiritual Satchit Ananda Vigraha of the Lord. Therefore, out of his causeless mercy, he comes in a form we can see. We can only see material things like stone and wood, and therefore he accepts a form of stone and wood, and thus accepts our service in the temple. This is an exhibition of the Lord's causeless mercy. Although he has no interest in such things, in order to receive our loving service, he agrees to act as he does. We cannot actually offer suitable paraphernalia for the Lord's worship because we are completely ignorant. It was out of his causeless mercy that the Lord appeared in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Nabi. Text number 10. O most worshipable of all, you are the best of all benefactors, and your appearance as at saintly King Nabi's sacrificial arena is meant for our benediction. Because you have been seen by us, you have bestowed upon us the most valuable benediction. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Nija Purusha Ikshana Vishaya. In Bhagavad Gita 9:29, Krishna says, Samoham Sarvabhutesu, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Devotional service is absolutely necessary to have a relationship with Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is equal to everyone. In that sense, he has no enemies and no friends. Everyone is enjoying the fruitive reactions of his own work, and the Lord within everyone's heart is observing and giving everyone the desired results. However, just as the devotees are always anxious to see the Supreme Lord satisfied in every way, similarly, the Supreme Lord is very anxious to present himself before his devotees. Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya saduskritam dharma samsta paratharya sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium. Thus, Krishna's appearance is for the deliverance and satisfaction of his devotees. Actually, he does not advent himself simply to kill the demons, for that can be done by his agents. Lord Vishnu's appearance at the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Nabi was just to please the king and his assistants. Otherwise, there was no reason for his being present there. Text 11. Dear Lord, all the great sages who are thoughtful and saintly persons incessantly recount your spiritual qualities. These sages have already burned up all the unlimited dirty things, and by the fire of knowledge strengthened their detachment from the material world. Thus, they have attained your qualities and are self-satisfied. Yet, even for those who feel spiritual bliss in chanting your attributes, your personal presence is very rare. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The priests in Maharaj Nabi's sacrificial arena appreciated the personal presence of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and they considered themselves very much obliged. The Lord's appearance is rare even for great saintly persons who have become completely detached from this material world and whose hearts are clean due to constantly chanting the glories of the Lord. Such people are satisfied by chanting the transcendental qualities of the Lord. The Lord's personal presence is not actually required. The priests are pointing out that the Lord's personal presence is very rare even for such elevated sages, but that he was so kind to them that now he was personally present. Therefore, the priests were very much obliged, means very much thankful of the Lord's mercy. Translation, text 12. Dear Lord, we may not be able to remember your name, form, and qualities due to stumbling, hunger, falling down, yawning, or being in a miserable disease condition at the time of death, when there is a high fever. We therefore pray unto you, O Lord, for you are very affectionate to your devotees. Please help us remember you and utter your holy names, attributes, and activities which can dispel all the reactions of our sinful lives. That's such a nice and beautiful statement by genuine devotees. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The real success in life is Ante Narayana Smriti, remembering the holy name, attributes, activities, and form of the Lord at the time of death. Yeah, that is the greatest benediction right there. Although we may be engaged in the Lord's devotional service in the temple, material conditions uh, are so tough and inevitable that we may forget the Lord at the time of death due to diseased condition or mental derangement. Therefore, we should pray to the Lord to be able to remember his lotus feet without fail at the time of death. When we are in such a precarious condition, In this regard, one may also see Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2 point 9-10 and 14-15. Okay, text 13. Dear Lord, here is the great King Nabi, whose ultimate goal in life is to have a son like you. Your worship, your lordship. His position is like that of a person approaching a very rich man and begging for a little grain. Maharaj Nabi is so desirous of having a son that he is worshiping you for a son, although you can offer him any exalted position, including elevation to the heavenly planets or liberation back to Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The priests were a little ashamed that King Nabi was performing a great sacrifice just to ask the Lord's benediction for a son. The Lord could offer him promotion to the heavenly planets or the Vaikuntha planets. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us how to approach the Supreme Lord and ask him for the ultimate benediction. He said, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye. He did not want to ask the Supreme Lord for anything material. Material opulence means riches, a nice family, a good wife, and many followers. But an intelligent devotee does not ask the Supreme Lord for anything material. His only prayer is Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatat Bhakti Haituki Twai. He wants to be engaged perpetually in the loving service of the Lord. He does not want promotion to the heavenly planets or mukti, liberation from material bondage. If this were the case, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not have said, Mama Janmani Janmani. It doesn't matter to a devotee whether or not he takes birth life after life, as long as he remains a devotee. Actually, eternal liberty means returning home back to Godhead. A devotee is never concerned about anything material. Although Nabi Maharaj wanted a son like Vishnu, wanting a son like God is also a form of sense gratification. A pure devotee wants only to engage in the Lord's loving service. There it is. That's the real knowledge. Text 14. Dear Lord, unless one worships the lotus feet of great devotees, one will be conquered by the illusory energy, and his intelligence will be bewildered. Indeed, who has not been carried away by the waves of material enjoyment, which are like poison? Your illusory energy is unconquerable. No one can see the path of this material energy or tell how it is working. Wow, that's true. Very truthful. Very powerful statement. Purport. Maharaj Nabi was inclined to performing great sacrifices for begetting a son. The son might be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but such a material desire, be it great or insignificant, is brought about by the influence of Maya. A devotee does not at all desire anything for sense gratification. Devotion is therefore explained as devoid of material desires. Anya bilasita sunya. Everyone is subjected to the influence of Maya and entangled in all kinds of material desires, all kinds of material desire. And Maharaj Nabi was no exception. Freedom from Maya's influence is possible when one engages in the service of the great devotees. Mahat Charana Seva. Without worshiping the lotus feet of a great devotee, one cannot be freed from Maya's influence. Srila Narottam Dasa Thakura therefore says, Shadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Payeche Keva. Who has been freed from Maya's clutches without serving the lotus feet of a Vaishnava? Maya is aparajita, and her influence is also aparajita, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Daivihi esa gunamayi mama maya dhiratyaya. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. Only a devotee can surpass Maya's great influence. It was no fault on Maharaj Nabi's part that he wanted a son. He wanted a son like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the best of all sons. By association of the Lord's devotee, one no longer desires material opulence. This is confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22:54. Sadhusanga, sarva shastre kaya, lavamatra sadhusanga, sarva siddhihaya. And Madhya 22:51. Mahat kripa vina kona karme bhaktinaya. Krishna bhakti dures rahu samsara nahe kashaya. If one is serious about escaping Maya's influence and returning home back to Godhead, one must associate with a sadhu, a devotee. That is the verdict of all scriptures. By slight association of a devotee, one can be freed from the clutches of Maya. Without the mercy of the pure devotee, one cannot get freedom by any means. Certainly, a pure devotee association is necessary in order to obtain the loving service of the Lord. One cannot be freed from Maya's clutches without sadhusanga, the benediction of a great devotee. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.32, Prahlad Maharaj says, Naisam matis tavad urukramang rihim, sprisati anartha pagamo yad artha, mahi yasam pada rajo bishakam, niskanchanam na vinita yavad. One cannot become the Lord's pure devotee without taking the dust of the dust of a great devotee on his head. Pada Rajo Bisakam. A pure devotee is nischana. Niskinchana. He has no material desire to enjoy the material world. One has to take shelter of such a pure devotee in order to attain his qualities. The pure devotee always free from the clutches of Maya, and her influence. Text 15. O Lord, You perform many wonderful activities. Our only aim was to acquire a son by performing this great sacrifice. Therefore, our intelligence is not very sharp. We are not experienced in ascertaining life's goal. By inviting you to this negligible sacrifice for some material motive, here it is, we have certainly committed a great offense at your lotus feet. Therefore, O Lord of Lords, please excuse our offense because of your causeless mercy and equal mind. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The priests were certainly unhappy to have called the Supreme Lord from Vaikuntha for such an insignificant reason. A pure devotee never wants to see the Lord unnecessarily. The Lord is engaged in various activities, and the pure devotee does not want to see him whimsically for his own sense gratification. The pure devotee simply depends on the Lord's mercy. And when the Lord is pleased, he can see him face to face. The Lord is unseen even by demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. By calling on the Supreme Lord, the priests of Nabi Maharaj proved themselves unintelligent. Nonetheless, the Lord came out of his causeless mercy. All of them, therefore, wanted to be excused by the Lord. Worship of the Supreme Lord for material gain is not approved by authorities. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.16, Chapter Vita Bhajantemam, Jana Sukritina Regina, Artha Jigyasur, Artharti Gyanicha Bharatar Sabha. O best among the Bharatas, Arjuna, four kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. Initiation into bhakti begins when one is in a distressed condition or in want of money, or when one is inquisitive to understand the absolute truth. Nonetheless, people who approach the Supreme Lord in this way are not actually devotees. Why is that? Because they want something material. They are accepted as pious, Sukritina, due to their inquiring about the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not knowing the various activities and engagements of the Lord, such people unnecessarily disturb the Lord for material gain. However, the Lord is so kind that even though disturbed, he fulfills the desires of such beggars. The pure devotee is anya bilasita sunya. He has no motive beyond his worship. He is not conducted by the influence of Maya in the form of karma or jnana. The pure devotee is always prepared to execute the order of the Lord without personal consideration. The Ritvija, the priests at the sacrifice, knew very well the distinction between karma and bhakti. And because they considered themselves under the influence of karma, fruit of activity, they begged the Lord's pardon. They knew that the Lord had been invited to come for some paltry reason, some very insignificant sense gratifying desire or sense gratification desire. Text 16. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, the priests who were even worshipped by King Nabi, the emperor of Bharata Varsa, offered prayers in prose. Generally, they were in poetry and bowed down at the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord of Lords, the ruler of the demigods, was very pleased with them, and he began to speak as follows. Text 17. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, O great sages, I am certainly very pleased with your prayers. You are all truthful. You have prayed for the benediction of a son like me for King Nabi. But this is very difficult to obtain. Since I am the Supreme Person without a second, and since no one is equal to me, another personality like me is not possible to find. In any case, because you are all qualified brahmanas, your vibrations should not prove untrue. I consider the brahmanas who are well qualified with brahminical qualities to be as good as my own mouth. Wow. Purport. The word avitata girbihi means they whose spoken vibrations cannot be nullified. The Brahmanas, Divya, the twice born, are given a chance by the Shastric regulations to become almost as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Whatever a Brahmana speaks cannot be nullified or changed in any circumstance. According to the Vedic instructions, a Brahmana is the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, in all rituals, a Brahmana is offered food. Brahmana Bhojana, because when a Brahmana eats, it is considered that the Supreme Lord himself eats. Similarly, whenever a Brahmana speaks, cannot be changed, it must act. The learned sages who were priests at Maharaj Nabi's sacrifice were not only Brahmanas, but were so qualified that they were like devas, demigods, or God himself. If this were not the case, how could they invite Lord Vishnu to come to the sacrificial arena? This is a uh, this is a um, um, a what do you call it? Anyway, God is one, and God does not belong to this or that religion. In Kali Yuga, different religious sects consider their God to be different from the God of others, but that is not possible. God is one, and he is appreciated according to different angles of vision. In this verse, the word kaivalyat means that God has no competitor. There is only one God. In the Svatasvatara Upanishad 6.8, it is said, Natat samas shabhyadikas drishyate. No one is found to be equal to him or greater than him. That is the definition of God. Text 18. Since I cannot find anyone equal to me, I shall personally expand myself into a plenary portion and thus advent myself in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of Maharaj Nabi, the son of Agnidra. Purport. This is an example of the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although he is one without a second, he expands himself by swamsa, his personal expansion, and sometimes by vibhinamsa, or his separated expansion. Lord Vishnu herein agrees to send his personal expansion as the son of Meru Devi, the wife of Maharaj Nabi, who is the son of Agnidra. The Ritvija, the priests, knew that God is one, yet they prayed for the Supreme Lord to become the son of Maharaj Nabi, to let the world know that the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is one without a second. When he incarnates, he expands himself in different potencies. Text 19. Sukadeva Goswami continues. After saying this, the Lord disappeared. The wife of King Nabi, Queen Meru Devi, was sitting by the side of her husband, and consequently she could hear everything the Supreme Lord had spoken. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to the Vedic injunctions, one should perform sacrifices in the company of one's own wife. Okay, devotees, you just heard it. Stop Diniko Dharmam Acharet. Religious rituals should be performed with one's wife. Therefore, Maharaj Nabi conducted his great sacrifice with his wife by his side. Okay, so I think we're going to stop right there. So, whenever we perform sacrifices, we should have our wife with us. Therefore, King Nabi conducted his great sacrifice with his wife by his side. That is our takeaway for today. Don't engage in sacrifices without your wife. Okay, are there any questions or comments anyone would like to make? Any questions or any comments? Well, one takeaway is the verse number 17 is very interesting. It says, the word avitata girbihi means they whose spoken vibrations cannot be nullified. A very significant statement. The Brahmanas, Dvija, the twice born, are given a chance by the Shastric regulations to become almost as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Whatever a Brahmana speaks cannot be nullified or changed in any circumstance. According to the Vedic instructions, a Brahmana is the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, in all rituals, a Brahmana is offered food, Brahmana Bhojana, because when a Brahmana eats, it is considered that the Supreme Lord himself eats. Similarly, whatever a Brahmana speaks cannot be changed. It must act. The learned sages who were priests at Maharaj Nabi's sacrifice were not only Brahmanas, but were so qualified that they were like devas, demigods, or God himself. If this were not the case, how could they invite Lord Vishnu to come to the sacrificial arena? Very clear statement here. God is one, and God does not belong to this or that religion. In Kali Yuga, different religious sects consider their God to be different from the God of others, but that is not possible. God is one, and he is appreciated according to different angles of vision. In this verse, The word kaivalyat means that God has no competitor. There is only one God. In the Srutasrutara Upanishad 6.8, it is said, Natat samas chabi yadikas chadrishyate. No one is found to be equal to him or greater than him. That is the definition of God. And that is our takeaway today. No one is equal to or greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, even the Muslims, they say this also. Wahad Allah, there's only one God. And they're very adamant about that. And that's because of that, they are really upset when they see Hindus worshiping demigods. And because of that, they'll even become fanatical and break the deities of the deities of the Hindus because they are adamant that there's only one God. There cannot be many gods. And that's what's being said here also. It says, uh, there is only one God. In the Srutasrutara Upanishad 6.8, it is said, Natat samas chabhyadikas chadrishyate. No one is found to be equal to him or greater than him. That is the definition of God. Yeah. So my advice to Hindus is the following: especially if there are Hindus that live in areas where the Muslims are predominant. Don't worship the demigods. Worship the Bhagavad Gita, the book, because that's what the Muslims do. They worship the Quran. So if we worship many gods, uh, like the Hindus do, it for the Muslims it is uh, considered an anathema, a severe violation of worshiping God, and they cannot accept that. Therefore, they will break the deities of the Hindus and kill them, even. Right? And they're so violent that they'll break the deities into smaller pieces and then use those pieces for being stepped on. They'll make the pieces in the ground, and when they walk to their temple, they will walk on those pieces of the Hindu gods, just to show that they are not actually God. That's why Hindus should not worship many different deities, especially in Muslim countries. On the other hand, my suggestion is they should worship the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Then the Muslims would not be upset because that's what they do. They worship the Quran. So if they see us worshiping the Bhagavad Gita, they won't be disturbed by that. That's what they do too. They worship their holy Shastra. But no, the Hindus, they have to worship many gods in Muslim countries. That's why they get attacked and murdered. And, they try and burn down the temples and destroy all the demigod deities. So that's a big mistake. That means that some Hindus don't really understand anything about Islam. And therefore, they do the worst thing in a Muslim country, worshiping demigods in the temple. That's the worst thing for the Muslims. They can't fathom such a thing, and therefore they'll break all the deities and kill the priests in the temples of the Hindus. And the Hindus never learn their lesson. They continue to worship many demigods in their temples in Muslim countries. That is a big mistake. On the other hand, instead of worshiping many demigods, it's better to worship Bhagavad Gita on the altar and regularly recite the Bhagavad Gita. Then the Muslims would not be upset. In fact, they might even chant along with you in the temple, right? Because that's what they do. They recite different verses from the Quran. And if the devotees worship the Bhagavad Gita as the main deity in their temple, then the Muslims would not attack the Hindus and burn down their temples and kill the priests. But no one will listen to what I just said. They go on having many deities of demigods in Muslim uh, countries and eventually being murdered and burned and so many different horrible things that happen. Okay, so here our takeaway for today is the following. Svatara Upanishad 6.8, it is said, Natat samas chabi adikas chadrisyate. No one is found to be equal to or greater than him, meaning Krishna. That is the definition of God. Okay, so God is, no one is equal to or greater than Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there is plenty of evidence to prove that. So therefore, we should worship Krishna as the only Supreme Personality of Godhead and nothing else. Okay, natat samas chabyadikas chadrisyate. No one is found to be equal to or greater than him. That is the definition of God. Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. That is our takeaway for today. Are there any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Harivilas Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. I have a comment. Oh, Haribol. I have a comment that most of the Hindus are not aware that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, I didn't know that before I came to Krishna consciousness. And that is the confusion they have. So they worship different types of demigods.
That is a big mistake.
Yes.
That is a big mistake. Now, why do they do that? For sense gratification. Because they go to different demigods thinking that if they go to Krishna, they will not get what they want. So they go to different demigods to try and get what they want. And they do. But that only puts them deeper into, let's say, a precarious situation of impure way of worshiping God. There is some benefit in worshiping the demigods because there's recognition that the demigods are greater than ordinary human beings. But the worship of demigods is not necessary when one worships Krishna. because Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, that's why the Muslims say there's only one God. So they get really upset when they go to a Hindu temple and they see many deities, and they don't understand that. See, in a Muslim temple, you go there, there's nothing. There's no deity. There's just some type of a plaque that indicates the direction uh, of the the direction that they should face when they pray. But there's no deity. There's nothing. It's just an empty hall, right? Uh, so they face the direction where they think is Makkah, right?
Kaaba. Yeah.
Yeah, the sacred stone, the black stone. So they're worshiping a black stone. That's their deity, right? And we're worshiping deities that are made of marble or stone also. So we're doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing, but with not the same understanding. The proper understanding is that Krishna is a person. He's not just a black stone. And that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, the genuine devotees worship one God, Krishna. But the Hindus, they worship many gods, unfortunately. And that is considered a real sacrilege for the Muslims. Because the Muslims say, Wahad Allah, there's only one God. There cannot be two gods. Right? But the Hindus, they put many gods. And they make the deities of many gods in their temples. So the Muslims get really upset when they see that, because in their religion there's only one God. And the other thing is that you're in Islam, you're not allowed to make a deity, because they think, and in many cases it's valid, you cannot actually make a form of God, uh, because it will not be correct. So why? Because it's not in the Quran. There's no explanation in the Quran what God looks like. So therefore, they have no information for making a deity of God. So they worship. What do they worship? They worship the Quran. That's it, nothing else. That's why if we have temples in Muslim countries, we should worship Bhagavad Gita. Then we will not be killed and maimed, and our temples will not be burned down, etc. Then the Muslims will not be upset, because that's what they do also. They worship the Quran, and we worship Bhagavad Gita. Okay, well, I think we'll stop right there. Our takeaway for today is the following. God is one, and he is appreciated according to different angles of vision. In this verse, the word kaivalyat means that God has no competitor. There is only one God. See, there it is right there. This is what the Muslims say also. There's no question of demigods being worshipped in a temple for the Muslims. And there is only one God. In the Sutasvatara Upanishad 6.8, it is said, Natat samas chabhyadikas cha drishyate. No one is found to be equal to or to him or greater than him. That is the definition of God. So that's why the Muslims are very upset when they see a Hindu temple with many gods, and they will attack that temple, try and burn it down, kill the pujaris, and so forth. It happens more times than we realize. And it's because the Hindus don't understand Islam. And because of that, they unnecessarily do things that are considered sacrilegious by the Muslims. Okay, any questions or comments? So here Prabhupada is saying very clearly, there is only one God. In the Svitasvatara Upanishad 6.8, it is said, Natat samascha vyadikas drishyate. No one is found to be equal to him or greater than him. That is the definition of God. So for the Muslims, God is one. Okay. There cannot be many gods. But when the Hindus put all the demigods in their temple, the Muslims become infuriated. They become absolutely upset because for them, there is only one God. But they don't have the explanation in the Quran of the form of God. So therefore, you go to a Muslim temple, you look around, there's nothing. There's just some little plaque on the wall that indicates the direction of Makkah. That's it. Even a Baha'i temple, you walk into the temple, there's nothing. It's empty hall, right? So this is like very strange for a devotee because we're habituated to having the form of the deity and worshiping the form of the deity. Just imagine how hard it is to worship go into a Muslim temple and there's no God there. Uh, they're worshiping what? They're worshiping the direction of Makkah. That's it. There's no form of God. And why is there no form of God? Because there's no indication in the Quran of what God looks like. So we're fortunate. We know exactly what God looks like, what God likes, what God doesn't like, and his beautiful attributes and so forth. But for Muslims, they think that is completely wrong. And they think that the Hindus are worshiping false gods. So, therefore, they think they have the right to burn down temples, kill the pujaris, break the deities, and engage in that kind of very brutal behavior because they think that their country is being contaminated by the incorrect worship of the Hindus. Therefore, in Muslim countries, my suggestion to the Hindus is worship the Bhagavad Gita, the book, because that's what the Muslims do. They are worshiping the Quran. They're not worshiping different deities. So in Muslim countries, the devotees should worship Bhagavad Gita, which is non different than Krishna. But no, they won't listen to that. And they unfortunately anger the Muslims and make them fanatics. Okay, so we'll stop right there unless anybody has a observation or something to say. Okay, no questions, no answers. Thank you very much. And please have a good day today. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And don't worship false gods. There's only one God, that's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the other gods are subordinate to Krishna. But if you worship only Krishna, all the other demigods are happy. So you don't have to worship the demigods. You can give respect, but don't worship the demigods thinking that they're equal to Krishna. That would be a big mistake. Haribol.